Welcome everybody. Miss Murray, can you join us?
No, I was going to
You didn't want to give a message?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Okay, so thank you everybody and welcome to our final Hui this afternoon. Focused mainly on maths, but also obviously introducing and looking at the details of our new Prime Maths that we're teaching as well. So I think we'll start with prayer. Matilda is our techie today. Okay, if you can make the next slide. All right, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord Jesus, we ask for your guidance as we teach our children. Allow us always to experience your presence in the many blessings you put before us. Open our eyes to the challenges and exciting opportunities that new learning brings. Open our hearts and minds to explore new ideas and help us work in partnership to support our Tamariki. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Matilda. Okay, so this afternoon, it's exactly the same workshop as we ran this morning. What we are going to do is we're going to just give this is the overview. So we're really looking at the use of games within our maths programme, looking at ways that you can help at home, introduction to Prime Maths and what that looks like in our classes through the school, and what the structure of maths looks like, because Prime Maths is just part of a wider maths programme, and then any chance for discussion or question and answers that you might have. And we've got our 4 fantastic students today. We've got Matilda, Sienna, James and Corbin, who are helping out to do some of our demonstration work today. They're part of my maths group that I take on a Monday to Thursday, and they kindly said yes when I said, well, you'd like to come and show how we play some maths games and also some others, and they might share some of their thinking as well around our Prime Maths. All right, so recently and throughout this year, we've been very lucky in our Hui to be part of, it's called the Learner First, which is a part of maths professional development. And we all grouped together at the beginning of the year on Teacher Only Day to really focus on what maths looks like and really to develop maths as our, it is a core part of our curriculum, but to really lift the profile of maths as well, that our children really see themselves as mathematicians. And so you'll begin to see this poster in all of the classes, and we really want our children to be thinking like a mathematician. So to be estimating, looking for patterns, be confident enough to change their thinking, using diagrams, equipment to record ideas. So it's not just paper and pencil, but using lots of different equipment to actually share what their thinking is. We want them to act like a mathematician, which means taking a risk and then checking their work, realising that making mistakes is part of the learning, and to just keep trying. So very much encouraging that mathematical thinking. It's not about getting the answer right first time and then moving on. It's about actually challenging ourselves with our thinking and being prepared to be challenged as well. And talking like a mathematician, which involves obviously asking questions to the teacher, to themselves, to the people they're working with. Using maths language, and Prime is the language in Prime is very specific to Prime, some of it, and so some of the maths language, it's maths language that teachers are learning to use as well. So there's certain aspects of Prime that it is built up over the years that the children are using the programme, but it will be more familiar as they move through the books. So it is really important that we're starting at the beginning, so those early years at school, that we are using Prime so the children develop that language that then they can build on. And justifying their thinking. So being prepared to explain, and being prepared that it's not just putting the answer down on paper, that we do talk about the learning. And that's what's really important, which we'll move on in a moment, to look at the use of games in the class, because that's a really important part of maths, is that talking as well, and sharing. And so all of these aspects, we want our children to be so they can be mathematician, and no matter what level they're working at, they can do all of that. It's not based on ability, whether you are a mathematician or not. All of our children will be a mathematician. They're all learning maths, so they can all have all of those dispositions and behaviours. Now, one of the aspects that we have just learned this year is the move and prove. And the idea of the Move and Prove is that it is a way to assess what the students have knowledge of. It's a way of them sharing their thinking, justifying their thinking, which we just saw from the maths poster. It's a way of the teacher carrying out a very quick assessment. So I would use a Move and Prove at the beginning of the week often, if I'm introducing something, see if the children have knowledge of it, and then use it at the end of the week as well. But instead of me talking about it, we'll get our children to model it. So this is the question. Which one does not equal 15? And the children are having their thinking time now. So is it A, 10 plus 3 plus 2? Is it B, 17 minus 2? C, 1 10 and 5 ones? D, 1/5? So when you've thought about it, children, you can either move to A, or B and C are in the wrong place. B, C, or D. And if you think you know, or you're happy with your answer, just put your thumb like this. Okay. And if you're able to explain what your thinking is, you know to put your fingers and thumb like this. So, Matilda, would you be able to explain your thinking?
Well, 10 plus 3 is 13, and then plus 2 is 15. So, and then 17 take away 1 is 16, and then take away another one is 15, and then 1 10 and 5 ones is 15, but 1/5 doesn't really fit in.
All right, thank you, Matilda. Does anybody want to add on to that? Anybody else got anything to share that they thought differently? Does anybody want to change their thinking from that explanation? Okay, oh well done. Thank you, students. Okay, so from that, I mean, that was probably quite an easy one for them to solve, but there would be sort of more challenging ones. And it's okay. They're learning that just because a big group might go to D, if I really think it's A, I'm going to stay at A. And that's quite a big shift for children as well, that they have to be prepared that I'm not going with the majority of the people, but we give them a lot of praise for doing that. And then when they're ready to share, so it's not just asking anybody to share, it's really that, yeah, they've thought about it, but they're able to explain. Now, it could be that somebody was standing at A and B, once they've heard what they've said, they might say, oh, actually, yeah, I do want to move my thinking, and I might move. But it's really important that the people maybe at A and B, they would get to be asked as well, because then you can actually really clarify what their thinking is. And all of the answers in there are put in there deliberately to trick them. So there's something that you can test actually the way they've been thinking by the answer that they give. But it's really helpful as a teacher, because you can do a little mini assessment at the end of a little unit and think, oh, have they quite got this? I might need to spend a bit longer on it. And generally the kids are pretty honest. They'll go to the one that they really think it is. If they're not ready to move, they stay in the middle of the mat and they just have their hand like this. And it's like, I don't know, or I'm just not sure. And that's really telling as well. And for the children doing it, it's a bit of fun. They come into maths, they get to move. It's generally the whole class that will be doing it, so you can have completely mixed ability, and they get to learn from one another as well. So it's kind of win-win. And we're just kind of exploring how to use those as part of our maths programme as well. All right, so last week we were really lucky. We hosted a workshop here at school for our other schools across our Hui, and we had our facilitators in, and the focus of that workshop was about the use of games for that rich mathematical learning. And so we really focused on the importance of games, maths games, as a fun way to engage in maths. Children love games, they love the idea of excitement and winning, so it's fun. There has to be an element of luck, so that the children, it's not the person necessarily with the most mathematical knowledge, but there's a bit of luck there involved as well, so even chance of people winning. You do need some mathematical knowledge, so maths need to be appropriate to age as well, that the children can access the mathematical knowledge that's needed. And it's got to be fair, there's got to be an even opportunity for each person to win, otherwise otherwise it's going to be no fun for anybody really. And the rules need to be easy to follow, quick, easy to explain, and then the children then will be able to play the game sort of independently. So we've kind of been looking at a few different games that we're going to be introducing to the children. And this is a way, like people always ask, well, what can we do to help at home? So maths games are really, really good as a way of supporting learning. So we know that parents often read to their children before, like bedtime and reading time, children bring home books. But what we're really wanting is to develop that maths at home as well, that becomes that special bonding time, and that it doesn't have to be, no matter what your experience has been of maths can be really positive and fun to do with your kids. That is that bonding time of reading a book together, but playing a maths game as well, because it's fun, there's lots of laughter, and it is fair, you know, so kids win, you know, and so that's actually really good. So it's positive and fun, and I think the beauty is if the children are learning a maths game at school, they can come home and teach you. So the children kind of become the teacher, and they can show you and share what mathematical skills and knowledge that they have. Yep. So we're going to play, I've got my lovely volunteers here, we're going to play this game called Greedy Pig, which some of them knew, and then some of them I taught yesterday. And so this is a game where it's very, very simple. I've printed off these only to save a bit of time today, but we did play this. It's got the same grid that's on the screen. We did play this yesterday, and they just drew the grid. It took them 2 minutes, and that's what the teacher would say. Right, everyone draw your grid for Greedy Pig. You can either draw it on a whiteboard, a piece of scrap paper. It takes 2 minutes. Quickly draw it out. So they've got 5 rounds, and all you need is 1 dice. And the idea is that you're trying to get the highest score. So that's the objective of the game. Now, one person will roll the dice, call out the number, and the children will write it into round 1. And so they're deciding they want to get the highest score, so they're keeping all the numbers, writing them down. But if a 1 is rolled, it's void. So they don't get anything for that round. So it's a little bit of probability, a bit of luck. And so when they've decided, I'm going to bank, I've got quite a good score here, I'm going to bank because I don't want somebody to roll a 1, then they sit down. If a 1 is thrown on the first roll, no, we just carry on. Yep. Okay, so ready? Ready to stand? Just stand down again. Okay. Here we go. 4. 6. 4. 5. Still going? Not be banking yet. 2. Still confident? 3. Okay, so I'm still going to bank. 3. Going to be brave. Take a risk. 4. Nice and down. Okay. And they always want to see, well, what would have been the next roll? It would have been a 1. So there you go. So then they total that round. So they're using their quick maths. And they're ready to stand for round 2. Coming in. That's all right, we'll give it time. Okay, round 2. Still anybody's game. 6. 2. 3. Still going. 4. 4. 4. 4. And put this down. Do it with 2 hands. Oh, so are you sitting down, James? Are you banking? 6. Still Go, Sienna. 5.
Now,
And it would have been 3. That's a big score. I might just this. That's all right. Well done. This is our last round. You get big scores. 3. 5. 6. 3. 2. 2. More still in? 6. 5. Is there one going to come? 3. Okay. 2. I have to make this the last one. I might be here a while. Oh, that was a 1. Are you sure? Okay, so then you total up from those. We normally got 5 rounds, but we're going to total up from those 3 rounds. Total up those from the 3 rounds. It's harder the higher score you get. Okay, and the highest score was 69, and what were the other scores?
61, 55, 66.
Okay, well done. Excellent. Let's give them a round of applause. Fantastic. All right, so as you can see through that quick game there's they've got the quick addition of basic facts. You know, just the numbers that they only went up to 6, but they having to add those up quite quickly between each round. And then when we play 5 rounds, they've got to add quite a few 2-digit numbers as well. So they can either use an algorithm to do that, or they can use place value. In fact, I might just ask them, James, how did you add yours up, your total scores at the end?
Because I had 27 and 28. I rounded that, added 27 to 28, so that's more basic. And then I did 20 plus 20, which is 40, and then 8 plus 8 is 16. So 40 plus 16 is 56, but because I had that remain, because I plus 1, I take 1 away.
Okay, so you did the rounding. Anybody else want to share how they solved it? Corbin?
First I plus the 20 from the to the 30, which is 50, and I had 747, so I took away the 1 from the 4 to negative 3, which is 18, and I just added the 1, which made 11, and I plus 15 to the 50, which was 60, and I just added the 1.
Right. So you broke up the numbers. You need to break up the 10s and the 1s to make it easier for yourself. So quite a bit of mathematical knowledge there that they're applying in order to solve that. And that game can be played to make it easier or harder. So you could use a 1 to 12 dice, make it harder. You could do it so it's 2-digit numbers. So you're rolling 2 dice and they've got 2-digit numbers, so you can make it harder. Sienna?
When 12 minute either because more numbers that aren't 1.
Okay. Oh, it could be actually, yeah, because then the probability is less, isn't it? You could do it, there's multiple ways that you could do it, and obviously if the children need support, they can have support, maybe working with a partner, working with a teacher, so the whole class can play that game. And that's the idea, that everyone feels included, everyone can be successful, but we can make it harder and to extend the students as well. And so these are the principles from rich mathematical games, and so if we really look at, do we think that Greedy Pig, the game that they've just played, kind of fulfills these? So the students are engaged. I think we agree that the students were engaged, and it's fun. There is skill versus luck. You know, it's not an exact science of when to sit down, because we don't know when that one's going to be thrown, or what the next highest number is going to be. The mathematics is central, so there's key concepts that are there, and it's practicing those as well, that quick addition. It's flexible for the learning and teaching, and so as I just shared, that there's different ways that we can make it harder and easier, and that homeschool partnership, that's a game that you can easily bring home and share with you. Don't really need much equipment at home, be a dice, piece of paper and pencil. So that game there does, and I think it's really important, the games that we play with children, that it has got all of those elements in to keep them engaged, and also so they've got an even chance of winning. And then last week, as I said, the facilitator came in and she spoke to us all as teachers, and then we went to 3 classes and she modelled some of the games in classes. And the children, as you can see, there's photographs here, a variety of different year levels. As soon as the game was introduced, it was really easy for the children to pick it up. And they were able to be engaged straight away, have fun, and there was very little equipment needed. So all of those elements that I shared in the last slide were all there. From the very youngest students, if you want to change the slide, Matilda, in our Year 1 class, it was a game of towers. So all they needed was cubes, and they had to look at the difference. So it was looking at like a little bit of subtraction, but the difference in size of towers. So they were using materials on a number line, so they had the concrete materials so they could physically see, whereas if you see with this game here, it moves into the abstract where they don't need materials anymore, they can just see the numbers in their head. So the games, 3 different classes that the facilitator went into, she doesn't know the students, within 5 minutes the children are off playing a game. So it's great, easy, quick engagement, everyone's talking maths. So no, it was a great day, it was great to welcome visitors to our school as well. Thank you, Matilda. So just sort of moving into then what Prime Maths looks like. So Prime Maths would be our core, that's the explicit teaching of strategy that we're doing, and there's clear expectations. There's example demonstrations, so we have the teacher's book, and then we have the course book, which we teach from with the students. So we have the hard copies, but we also have it digitally. So you'd either see students using one of these between 2, and the teacher's teaching from it when they're in a group, or we'd use the screen, and then which has got the pictures through it. It's got then to what materials we use to demonstrate. It's got little videos that we can use, so they're demonstrating as well. So there's a variety of tools that explain the strategy. And then there's immediate feedback and practice as well. So I might just flick on to the actual Prime. So this is what it would look like for the teachers using it, like the digital version. And so there'll be a, page 40. The teacher would teach the concept, show the materials, and the children have an opportunity to practice. And then together, we would do the Let's Do. So the children are still in front of the teacher doing the Let's Do, so you can really see if they're really understanding it, you're working through it together. You give them a chance to have a look at the Let's Practice, and this is with the teacher still, before they then move into their own practice book. So all the children have their own practice book, and there'd be quite a few pages that are based on that concept. So for this one, it's subtraction and it's regrouping within, and I know this is book 4, within that practice book, there's probably about 3 to 4 pages of regrouping either tens, ones, or moving into the hundreds. So lots of opportunity to practice what they've been taught. Lots of chance to build up, and then the teacher marking this book as well can really keep an eye on, have they really got this concept? Do we need to go back and reteach? But I think the beauty of the Prime is it really builds from the basis, and then it builds up as well. So you've got lots of opportunities. And for this one as well, because it's digitally there, you can actually mark it with the children as well. It can reveal the answers. So, and they're sitting in front of you. You can go through this and they can mark it themselves as well. So it's a very comprehensive way of teaching. Just get back into the presentation and learning. Okay. Right, on to the next one. And so, like, we believe this is why we've adopted Prime, because we do think it gives them the confidence, that critical thinking, there's collaboration, there's plenty of opportunity for the students to share their thinking, that communication and creativity as well, from using really that the concrete materials and the pictures to then moving into the abstract, and then the maths goes into their heads, and then they can explain. And the best thing, or the beauty of Prime, when we started looking into this last year, Mr. Murray and I, was that it really does review all their learning. So if they're moving into, because we've jumped in at different year levels, they won't have had the foundations. Before each chapter, there's a let's review. So it goes back to the previous book, and so there's a little bit of let's remember, so the children have an opportunity, and the teacher has an opportunity to see if it's something that they're ready for. Now what we can do, and I've done this with, I know with my groups, is because we've been doing the regrouping and bar models, which bar models are a little bit different, and bar models are very specific to Prime. If these students are on book 4, we've dipped back into book 3, and I've sourced the videos that are there to help explain. So we've gone back a little bit sometimes, because I know it will be in previous books. And that's what many of the senior teachers have had to do. They just dip back into the previous book, easy enough, sort of teach that key concept. Because the children have got the maths, but they might not necessarily have some of the maths language. That, and what I mean by bar models is, unless one of the students would like to explain what a bar model is. Do one of you feel confident enough to explain what a bar model is? Yeah, Corbin, did you want to take the microphone?
So, well, bar model is you'll get like a question and you write the number sentence, and then you would have a bar on like a top, and then you would like break it in half and say you wanted to find out what's 20 minus 5. You would put 20 on the top, and you would put a line in the middle and put 5 on one side, and then put a question mark, and you would try and minus 5 from 20 and get 15, and just double check if you got the right answer.
James, did you want to add to that?
And also, a bar model is used for like when you've got a lot of words in a problem, say, and you just need to write stuff down. You put you could say 257 cows in a farm, and 157 got taken away. You put like Corbin said, 257 on the top, and then 150 on the bottom, and then you put the question mark, and then it's just, and then you work it out with an algorithm or however you want to solve it.
Thank you. And so here's just an example. Basically, the bar model is just getting rid of all the words. Okay, getting rid of all the excess words and actually showing almost in a diagram what it's asking you to do. And I know some of the senior students are finding it a bit harder because they can go straight to the maths. But this is just when the maths become two sort of step problems, then it makes it easier. And it's interesting working with, because I've got a year 3 group as well, they actually find the bar models a lot easier than the older ones, because it really helps explain their thinking. But we did this morning in maths, and it helped me as well to draw the bar model. What's it actually asking us to do? Because there are 2 steps. So sometimes when we rush in, we've actually missed out a step. But when we drew the bar model, it really helped to explain that's what it's asking me to do. Okay? So, and that's particular to prime. So that's why we're sometimes dipping into the book before to actually go, we're learning the mechanics of it rather than the maths necessarily, but it will help them to move forward. Sorry, Andrea.
Do all the children know those technical words like algorithms?
If they're being taught it, yes they will. So and it starts at book 2, which is probably about year 3. So they'll be taught that word algorithm, and we're using the words regrouping, so they know that they're breaking the tens in order to go into the ones, or breaking the hundreds, and that is the language that they use. We use the prime language. If they've not been introduced to algorithms yet, they probably won't. Yeah, but as soon as we start teaching it, I know I've got my year 3 group, they're using that, and they say, oh, we're using algorithm, or we're going to regroup. So, and that's the language of prime. Yeah, and we don't use other language, we just keep to that.
So the concepts you're learning within prime, those are going to apply at intermediate and high school?
Yes,
Those
very
are
much
the
so.
same language and that same, those same concepts are breaking things down the way that they do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it might be that the bar model, after, that they don't need to use it, but it's a strategy that they can use to then help them solve a problem. So it's basically drawing out the problem and just asking them to use. But I would say that the maths has been raised. I look at what we're teaching and I go, and there's lots of teachers are talking and saying, gosh, it's really making me think. There's maths talk for the teachers happening around as well. It's at a higher level than what we have been, which is good, because the refresh curriculum is at a higher level. They've raised the levels, so I feel like we're in a good position. It just means that because we've launched it now, if your child might be in year 5 or 6, they might have gone in at a book slightly lower because they've not had the prime foundation. But the books, it's very much on a scoping sequence, and the books are very, very similar. It's just the numbers. So say, for example, book 3 would be working to numbers to 1,000. Book 4 we're working numbers to 10,000. But I know that we're teaching the same things that we've been teaching subtraction and algorithms. It's just with smaller numbers. So if they've learnt it in one book, it will just be built on for the next year as well. So they've got a chance to recap as well. It's not you just taught it once and then you know it. It's actually develop it and grow. And so that's the model of prime. That it's that readiness, we know they're ready, they engage in it, and then that mastery as well. Lots of assessments that are very easy for us, for the teachers to carry out as well. There's assessments at the end of each chapter, and we also, for our seniors, or year 4 to 6, there's an online hub as well, which they have an opportunity to practice, and there are assessments that the teachers can see the page, and we can reset assessments if the children haven't scored very highly, we can reteach. So I think it's a really good way that children, nobody can fall through the cracks. Everybody is having that solid, consistent teaching, and we know that they're all having that same mathematical diet, really, that same language. So this is just the structure of really, so every new chapter starts with let's review. So it might start off quite easy, because it's just checking on what the knowledge they've had from the book before. There's the introduction to a new strategy. To begin with, it's all about materials and pictures. That's how each one starts. And then it moves into just seeing the numbers in your head. If it gets hard, we bring the materials back in. Lots of opportunity to practice. So there's a lot in each maths lesson, and then there's a lot for the children to do when they're not with the teacher as well. And it extends the concept, so difficulties built up gradually. And at the end of each chapter, like we've just finished a lot of work on subtraction, and then we've got quite a few days of problem solving. And so the problem solving to begin with has been about subtraction, hasn't it? And now it's mixed operations, so they don't just get to rely on, So Prime Maths books, so all students have got their own practice books, so you've probably not seen these. Sometimes if the children have been away, they ask if they can take them home to catch up, and they're very welcome to do that. All we ask is that they don't get ahead. It's because they need to wait until the teaching, because it is very specific. And we've got course books, which some teachers use the course books with the students, others will use the online. It's exactly the same. It depends. And sometimes, because I teach in a very little room, that the children often say, can we get our own course book? And they can just come and work on their own course book. So it's quite flexible. It's just when we haven't got much room and you've got lots of books around. All classes are using Prime. With our juniors, our year ones and new entrants, I would say that they're using it, but they supplement with their own. They're still, we're not sure in our year 1 0. We'd like them to have the mathematical language, so it's developed from Prime. They use the K book, the kindergarten book, which is for year 1. And there is this meeting the needs of our kids, so we're just using side by side with what they're got very obviously strong junior teachers, and they're using it going. So we're going to make a decision by the end of the year whether Prime is their core maths, but we are using it from definitely year 2 and above. And we're really feeling like now our year 2s, it's taken a little while to get into the books because there's a lot of language and they need a lot of help with the reading of the language. But I think once they're off, they'll find, and the teachers are really happy because they're seeing them making progress. So that's really reassuring. And yes, I've just said they're supporting with other resources as well. So Prime is part of a wider maths programme. So Prime is our core. So we're teaching the Prime explicit teaching in groups. So the teachers generally probably will have 3 groups within their class, 2 to 3 groups. And so that's made up of their Prime teaching. But as well as that is the basic facts. So there we do basic facts assessments once a term, whole school, or year 2 to 6. We've just started that this year. And so we want to see that basic facts obviously improve and to become more automatic. So if there's anything that you're thinking, how can I help the child at home? Basic facts. You know, lots of instant recall, facts to 10, facts to 20, facts to 100, multiple, times tables when they're at that stage. So as soon as they become sort of automatic, then they can apply, just like they were very, very quick at working out for that game, because their basic facts are solid. So as soon as that's automatic, then everything else becomes easier. We've got Maths Whiz, which you would have seen your child using Maths Whiz, which is excellent. The teachers love the Maths Whiz because they can set specific tasks to the students. They're highly accountable. They've got to get through it. It's not gaming. It's not like just pressing buttons and things appearing. It's very specific to what their maths learning is. Maths games, which the teachers are introducing. We're going to try and introduce a new game every 2 to 3 weeks, so that the children don't get too bored of it. And then they've got a little bank of games that they can play within the maths programme, outside of the maths programme. They can share them with you at home, and it's a way of them practising. We've got the practice books that the children use independently of the teacher in most year groups, and there's the online hub as well. So when they're not working with the teacher, we can see everything that they're doing in there, and we can reset assignments, we can see if they've been rushing, and we can see if it's too hard or too easy. Yes?
Is the online hub?
The online hub's just accessed at school. Yep, so it's just at school. Yeah, and we're just experimenting whether that's something we're going to keep for next year or not. It's because we really like doing it in the books. It's definitely not to replace that. It's to support, but with Maths Whiz as well, we're looking at which is giving us best value and not too much time on devices as well. So if you've got any questions that are specific, or you want to even ask the children anything about Prime Maths, they're the experts about what they think. But if there's anything else that you want to know or want to ask, then please do. Does anybody, any of you, what do you think of Prime Maths? Miss Corbin?
Why did you only introduce Prime Maths this year?
I don't know, Mr. Murray.
Because it took me a long while to do took Mrs. Willock and I too much time to do some research. Probably about 2 terms, to be fair, Corbin. It's a really good question. We should have been quicker, shouldn't we?
These books are from what version? Are you going to encourage parents to use it?
We haven't looked into that yet, have we?
No.
Yeah, and I know some schools send the practice book home as a homework book, but we've chosen to use the practice book at school. So, no, we haven't looked into that yet. I think it's something that we could explore, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Dragon Maths is still a very, very good resource to use to support this. If that's something that you're using at home, then that's excellent as well. So it certainly doesn't, it certainly aligns really well with this. Yeah, Maths Quiz, excellent. Yeah, the teachers are still really love Maths Quiz.
So just a quick question with math quiz and things like that. How often or how much time are they spending on devices at school? Because when they come home, they don't necessarily want them on devices like math quiz as they've been doing it at school. But
Look, it's-
Very, very good point.
Probably not as much as you think, to be fair. And actually, I think,
The video.
and I think that we've actually just had a conversation probably beginning this year in our leadership team about trying to include a no device day as well, like through the week. Having one day where we actually don't want them on anything, no research, they can do all sorts of other things. So throughout year 0 3 is very little times on the iPads at all, very little. In fact, it would be less than a third of the time in the day. And our 4 to 6 is probably a little bit more through that, but they only do it for part of the lesson. As you can see, the prime lesson is about 20 to 25 minutes of real structured stuff, and it's got just books and conversations, and maybe the only thing that they would see would be the video, the 5-minute video that maybe just recaps what they should have learned and may not have picked up from the teacher's conversation. So the maths quiz is probably 10 minutes a day, maybe 12. Would that be fair? Class, maybe 10 or 12 at the most. So minimising it a little bit, to be fair. We're still investigating what one day without a device in every class looks like. We're still probably working through convincing the teachers to be the big thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think if you do want to practice anything, maths games. Absolutely, because they probably,
multiple children, sometimes with device time while the
Yeah.
other thing.
absolutely, they don't need to be, you know, but they don't have their assignments to do it. Very good point.
I just wanted to ask, the maths games, is there a bank that we can access?
What we're going to do is, because each team has been looking at, I think the year 4 to 6 team are introducing a game called Gnarly Numbers. Is that right? Have you been shown Gnarly Numbers? And so they're going to introduce a new one, and then they'll share that somehow, probably on Seesaw for the younger ones, maybe Google Classroom for the older ones, and the children then can teach you that, yeah. So then we'll have a turnaround of different games that they can show you at home. Yeah, good question. But no, it is, I think it's been, it's still a big learning for the teachers as well. You know, that we're still, you know, either ironing out, or there's still lots of problem solving together, of how do we do this, or how do we do that. But it's really good questions, and we have it as a focus for our professional development as well. So we've got it as a school-wide inquiry, and we're meeting every term, and we're looking at, how does Prime look at St Mary's really? You know, we know we're sticking purely to Prime Maths, but it's about what does it look like in that wider maths programme as well. That's really important, that we keep all those really good core elements that we've had. But no, we're seeing great success with kids. You know, that it is because it looks the same in every class as well. It's consistent. Yes.
I just want to say thank you from behalf of myself as a parent, because I know that maths in the education system at the moment is in a bit of a sort of limbo area, and so to have my child in a school where you've done a lot of research and you've got great things in place, it's really reassuring. So just thank you really. It's good to see.
Welcome. Yeah, I mean and I remember going to lots of different, meetings with DPs and everything, and they're saying, what are you using for maths? What are you using for maths? And so many schools are saying, we've got great structured literacy. Each school has obviously got their own provider for structured literacy, but there seemed to be nothing for maths. And so we were really looking around, weren't we? And then this kind of really jumped out, and there is quite a few schools beginning to use Prime, and then across our Kahuiako as well. So that's actually really good to have links with other schools as well. That some of our teachers have gone out to see what Prime looks like at other schools, which that's exciting for us as well, that they're growing themselves. And we've been able to have 2 maths leads. We've got a junior teacher and a senior teacher who are the maths leads for their teams, and that's really exciting because I get to work closely with them They represent maths in their team, and so we can problem solve together as well. I think for our hero goals, that's a work in progress, and we're asking parents to probably be a little bit patient while we navigate how that's going to look. Because I said Prime is specific language, which doesn't align with our original curriculum goals. So some of the learnings, we can definitely see progress in our students, but some of the dials don't show it because it's not the language that's in ours. So we've got a couple of teachers who are doing a bit of a trial this year, and then we'll make a decision by the end of the year what our hero goals will look like, won't we? So it's the same with structured when we introduce structured literacy. You introduce something new, and it creates change, and we have to just navigate through that. So, but I kind of think hero goals is, as long as the children are making progress, that's the exciting thing that we can sort that out. So no, it is very exciting. It's fast-paced lessons, isn't it? The lessons there's a lot in there, isn't there? You know, the students, particularly this group that I work with, they work very fast. You know, because we've got a lot to get through, haven't we? But yeah, the expectation is that we're here, we're learning, and it's we kind of the expectations are high, put it that way. But there's support as well. Children aren't rushed through them, but it's we're learning to think like mathematicians, like that earlier poster. So thank you for your time, everybody. If you do think of anything else, you can just send an email or catch up with me, or ask your children about it. I'm sure they'd